you might say, I want something to create, LinkedIn content, and it will create a whole like automation for you about like researching your market for creating the LinkedIn content, actually creating the LinkedIn content, refining the LinkedIn content, giving you maybe some images to go along with your LinkedIn content. Like it'll do all that for you. And then you might do some tweaks to, refine it and put it more in your voice and stuff like that. But you got the general kind of gist of your automation, and it took you 30 seconds to do.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Reid Florien. If you don't know who Reid is, he's an AI marketing strategist and expert in affiliate marketing. He's the founder of AutomatedAIMarketer.com, and he's also the AI expert in residence for Driven Mastermind. Reid, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me, Michael. It's great to be here.
I'm super stoked you're here. Today, Reid and I are going to explore how to regain your time by leveraging AI automation. Now, Reid, before we get into all the fun stuff here, I would love to hear your background. Like, how'd you get into AI? Start wherever you want to start.
Sure. Well, I'll go way back. So I started in the whole internet marketing industry back in 1999. I was a 13-year-old kid at the time. And basically, it was right before the dot-com crash. So you heard a lot of stuff about the internet in the news and on TV and stuff. And I was like, oh, the internet's kind of cool. Maybe I can do something with that. And so there was this program called alladvantage.com, which was like a banner ad on your screen. And they paid you like 50 cents an hour for every hour you were on, and then 10 cents an hour for people you referred. So I was actually acting in a college play at the time, and I referred a bunch of college students underneath me. And then it kind of spread like wildfire. And that's how I got my first taste of any sort of money that I ever made on my own. So I haven't like had a job or anything like that. I've always been self-employed doing my own thing. And so I learned how to do that, got that working, did a bunch of other stuff, marketing wise, and even had a stock market site that did really well as a teenager, and I had a bunch of different interests over the years that, some things did really well, some things did not do so well, and it was a lot of fun. And then AI, it's been the last several years. I'd say sometime during COVID is when I really got really interested in it. And so I started creating tutorials about like different AI tools that I was using. Jasper was one of them that was really popular, that I created a bunch of like training in their community. And then they like marked me as like a community expert for their community. And then I got really involved with Trends Co., which I guess was owned by Sam Parr, I think, at the time. And so that community like nominated me as like their like AI expert guru person on that kind of stuff. And then that got me on Perry Belcher's radar, where he's the founder of Driven Mastermind, or one of the co-founders of Driven Mastermind. And he's invited me to speak on his stage a lot about like AI and automation stuff that I'm using myself. And then I've been helping a lot of people over the years with what's working for me with AI and automation.
Love it. So I'd just love to explore a little bit of your journey over the last few years using AI, like just outside of being involved in all these amazing communities. Like, what was your aha moment that kind of got you excited about AI? And just share a little bit about that if you don't mind.
I think with just how easy it is to get something to actually create content with AI kind of got me really going with it, because when I started really dabbling with AI, you would have to like write a blog post by hand, and it would take a long time to research everything, write everything out, and to spell check everything, analyze everything, and then actually post it on your site. And so then I started using tools like Jasper, and that sped up a lot of the process for doing that kind of stuff. And then I moved on from Jasper to other tools over the years. But that kind of opened my eyes on like, well, you can really get this AI stuff to do with a lot of work for you. You don't necessarily need to have a large team. You don't need to have an office. You don't need to be slaving over this stuff all on your own. You can have a computer do a lot of the work for you.
And what about on the automation side of it? Like, when did AI and automation start connecting for you?
So I've been playing with automation longer than AI. So I was using things like Zapier and Make and stuff like that for several years now for different things and automating different tasks for me. And then when they started adding stuff where you could connect it up to like OpenAI and use your API keys and stuff like that. That's when I started to click like, oh, I could like really automate this stuff. Like I'm not necessarily having to log into a tool and do stuff, and then copy and paste and put it into another tool. Like let's say I wanted to do a blog post or something, I wouldn't have to like log into say Jasper or ChatGPT and then create my blog post and then copy and paste it and put it on a blog and do some editing and stuff like that. I could automate a lot of that process, and it could go out and research the information. It could create the outline. It could create the content. It could actually write the content and post it on my blog for me. And that's when I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I started playing with other automation tools, things like CheatLayer and TaskMagic and RoboMotion and a bunch of different things that I've played with over the years and collected over the years to experiment with. And they all have like pros and cons, and some work better than others, and some are more some are quite nerdy, and others are more user friendly to the average person that can use it and start seeing some results. And so that just got me really excited about it, where it's like, hey, I can show people how to use this kind of stuff, show it how it's working for me, not only make money as an affiliate promoting these tools, but I'm also helping people, succeed in their business with these different tools and helping them automate different aspects of their life.
Love it. Okay, so to all of the marketers and entrepreneurs that are listening right now that have not embraced AI automation, I know you've kind of hinted at it a little bit, but if this is done right, what's the upside? What could it make possible for those that maybe pay attention to what we're about to talk about today?
I mean, pretty crazy numbers for things. So, for instance, one of the tools I use is called MindPal. And one of the things that I really like about MindPal is it tracks like how much time it estimates that you've saved in a week. And one of my best weeks, I saved 3,683 hours of work just by using MindPal. So I have other automations that I use, but just in MindPal alone, I saved over 3,000 hours of time in a work week. And so if you were to multiply that out by like actual employees doing stuff, it would be an astronomical number of people that I would need, and just the expense of having all those people doing stuff. Where this is a tool that's relatively inexpensive, and it was doing a lot of the work for me. And so I think that's just fascinating when you can tie that together, tie that into other tools that you're using, save yourself a ton of time, save yourself a ton of energy, save yourself a ton of money by leveraging these different tools.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So let's say that we want to go ahead and begin doing some sort of AI automation. What do we need to be thinking about first? Where do we need to begin?
So one of the things that I would really think about is there something that you do on a repetitive basis, like maybe something you do every single day in your business, or something that a team member does in your business that you could automate. You could get some sort of automation going, whether it's doing something like MindPal, where it's going to be mainly creating content, or maybe it's going to be something like TaskMagic and CheatLayer, where it's going to be like clicking different buttons on your computer and moving stuff between different programs. There's a bunch of different opportunities for different things. And like some of those tools, like for instance, I talked about TaskMagic and CheatLayer, you can like record a video of you doing something, and you can send that to those tools, and it will create the automation for you. So it will actually watch the video and start kind of mapping those things on your screen and be able to follow along and create an automation that runs without you. So that's just, I think, fascinating with where we're at right now with this kind of technology. And so if you can do those kind of things where you could focus on just knocking out one thing, like one particular aspect that's really a burden for you. Like for instance, you do a lot of these podcasts, so you've got to figure out like researching the guest, and you've got to figure out what kind of questions you want to ask, and you've got to do stuff with the actual content of the interview, where you're piecing things together and you're transcribing stuff and you're creating like show notes and you're publishing all this content and creating all these like social media posts to share like this podcast episode. Those are things that you could automate with an AI and an automation tool that could take off a lot of that workload for you. And so those are wonderful things that if you can think of something that you do on a repetitive basis, that if you could just eliminate part of it, even if it's just eliminating one step, that's phenomenal, because of the amount of time that you save. It has this snowball effect. When you save a little bit of time, let's say you save 5 minutes a day with an automation. Well, maybe you do another automation and that saves you another 10 minutes a day. Well, that's 15 minutes right there that you could be used doing something more strategic with your time, something that an AI or an automation can't really do. You can focus on that time during that 15 minutes. And then, if you keep doing that and keep creating more and more of these automations, you eventually have it where your workday is pretty free and you're able to work on the things that you really enjoy without necessarily being stuck in the weeds doing all the day-to-day operations in your business.
Talk to me a little bit about mindset shifts that we might have to make about machines doing things versus us doing things.
I think one of the mindset things that I encounter a lot with people is they think that they can do everything better than everyone else. Like they aren't willing to hire someone because they can do it better. Mm-hmm. And, if a machine can do it, 70, 80, 90% of the way there, and you put a little bit of time into doing some tweaks to it, that saves you a ton of time, energy, and effort on doing stuff. So that's a mindset shift that I think a lot of people need to make. Another mindset shift is, and I blame Hollywood for this, is they think like these AI things and the automations are just going to like rise up and enslave us all. And it's like, really? Like that makes for a really good movie, but I don't foresee that happening with any of this stuff. So I think that's a kind of an unfounded fear that we've just kind of been spoon-fed with all these different movies that we've watched over the years, over the decades, actually. It's been a common trope with movies. So I think that's something that a lot of people need to forget about and just leverage this, because if you are not leveraging AI and automation, your competition is. And if your competition is, and you're not, you're eventually going to be put out of business.
When it comes to identifying a common task that maybe we do all the time, do you have any tips on how to document it in such a way that it's kind of ready for automation? Like creating some sort of a list or standard operating procedure, any tips on that? Because not everybody has, well, most of the listeners probably have not done any automation at all. So they don't know like how to like break it down. Any tips on that?
Yeah, I'll give actually another tool. It's called komododex.com. And this is a tool where it kind of combines like Scribe and Loom. And it's almost like they had a baby where it will, like every time you click your mouse, it records that information and kind of writes like a how-to like SOP that goes along with it and has the screenshots for that and actually writes some text on like where you clicked on the particular thing. Like maybe you opened your web browser, you went to google.com, you typed in something and you hit the search button. And that might be like the 3 or 4 steps for that particular SOP. Well, it's going to have all that stuff where it's going to be like you opened up Chrome, you typed in google.com. That'd be like step 2. You typed in, how to make money online, and then you click search. And so it's like 4 steps. It's got screenshots for each of those things. It's got text that goes in with all that. And it also records a video of you doing it too. So you got kind of the best of both worlds where you've got the screenshots and the text that go with it. So you can use that to help you automate it. And you've got the video itself where, you or your team, or even you could feed that into some of these other tools like Cheatlayer or TaskMagic. And I'm sure there's other ones now where you could upload like that video and it could create, a good chunk of that automation for you. So I think that's something that a lot of people kind of overlook, where it's like, if you could just use something like that, it's going to be a lot better for you for creating these different automations. And then you just have that going on like in the background while you're doing something. You basically click record and you do your tasks. You do your 5, 10, 20-minute task, whatever it is. And you've got this pretty detailed SOP and video. You might have to do a few edits to it, but you've got a really good training document that you could use, a team member could use, or you could use with AI and automation to automate the whole thing.
Love it. Okay. Moving on to the next step. So let's say we've adjusted our mindset and we've kind of identified something that we know we want to automate. And maybe we've used Komodo Dex, DEX, to help us kind of document that a little bit. Let's talk about an example, right? Like you've got some examples that we've prepped. Maybe you could share some of the examples about how you're creating affiliate content specifically.
Sure. So one of the tools that I made, and this is a MindPal automation where, and I'll give you guys access to this as well, but basically you put in like a URL, so a link to something. It could be an affiliate link, could be a link to your website, could be a blog, could be whatever. You put in a link, it will actually read the content of that link, and then the next steps of it, it will create like a blog post outline. It will actually create a blog post. It will create video scripts. It'll create like email swipes. It'll create social media posts. It'll create all this content for you to help you promote that particular offer, that particular product as an affiliate, or promoting your own thing with it. And so that saves people a ton of time, energy, and effort, because it's doing all the work for them. It's actually reading the website. It's creating stuff that's related to what's on the page, and it's giving you these tools that are unique to you that you can use to start spreading the word and promoting said affiliate program. And that's a great way to stand out, because a lot of people, especially in the affiliate marketing space, they just copy and paste an existing promotional tool that they get from the product vendor, and then they wonder why no one's actually reading their emails. Well, if you had 100 people that, let's say you're on 100 different lists and they're all promoting the same product, the same offer, and every single person sending out the exact same subject line, the exact same body, it really doesn't convince anyone to buy anything. And so if you can have these more unique emails that go out, and in this particular case, it could be your social media posts, it could be the blog posts, it could be the video scripts, whatever. But in this particular case, I was talking about emails. You will stand out, and your emails will get more read. More people will read them, more people will open them, more people will click on them, and eventually you'll have more commissions coming through, because that's just the nature of the game.
Also, tell me about something you were doing with Perry Belcher. You were going to share an example of a lead magnet that you created.
Yeah, so a few months ago, Perry had this class. It was called Lead Laundering. And basically, it was a course on how to create a bunch of different lead magnets and get people to sign up on your list. So it might be things like, case studies and videos and ebooks and all this kind of stuff that you might use to get people to opt in for your newsletter, your email list. And so what I did is I looked at that training, and I created an automation where it created it's like 40 different lead magnets that he talked about. You basically would type in your topic, your niche market that you're interested in, and it would actually create all those pieces of content for you. So then you could pick and choose which ones you wanted to use, do a few tweaks to them, and you're good to go. You could start building an email list that way. And that's where a lot of people were saving so much time with the automations that I was doing, because I gave that away to the people that bought that training of his. And so that's where I got thousands of hours saved, because I let a few people use it. And that was a great way to show off how this works and to help a lot of people grow their business. And so that's really what it's all about. If you can create different tools that not only help yourself, but you can share them with others, I think that's a wonderful position to be in.
So just so I'm clear, was this some sort of like a custom GPT that you created where it would ask a couple of questions and then it would create something for them that they could use as a lead magnet, as an affiliate for this product? Or just help me understand a little bit more about that.
Sure. So actually all they basically did was they would just type in like their niche market, like their topic that they wanted their content to be about. So let's say that maybe you're in the niche market of pickleball. You would just type in pickleball, and this would go out and create all the content for you. It actually would research the topic of pickleball. It might create like some video scripts, might create some like podcast scripts. It might create some like ebooks and white papers and special reports and all these different things that you could use to convince someone to sign up for your email list. And so you could just copy and paste the content that was generated, maybe make a few tweaks to it, like add in your logos, for instance, make it look a little pretty. And you've got this like special report or whatever that you're offering that you can give people, and they would sign up to your email list. You'd get that lead, you capture them in your autoresponder. You could market to them over and over again. And you didn't have to slave over creating all this content. You didn't even have to know how to create the content, because the tool that I created just does it all for you.
So just so I can unravel the backside of this, how did you power this tool? I mean, and maybe this is getting into the next question with all these tools that you were using. But was this something where you had to use programming language to be able to do this and API calls and stuff, or were you using over the shelf, if you will, software to be able to make something like this possible?
So for both those examples, like the automated, AI stuff for creating the affiliate stuff, and for the content for like Perry Belcher's course, I use a tool called MindPal. And so MindPal is a tool that allows you to create automations that you can use internally, but you can also create these automations that you can share with others. You can embed them on your website. You can share them as a link. You can get people to opt into your site for using tools. You can get people to pay you money for access to the tools you've created with MindPal. And then MindPal connects up to all sorts of different like AI providers. So you've got things like OpenAI and Gemini and DeepSeek, and pretty much everything is in there now that it connects to. Perplexity is in there now. A bunch of different things that it can connect up to, and you can have it basically send the information out to that provider, and then it gets sent back into your MindPal automation, and then that can get sent to the next step. So, for instance, with like the tool that created like the affiliate marketing stuff, basically I had an input box where it was, what's the URL? You put in the URL, you click submit, and then it would read the page. That was like one step in the automation. Then the next step in the automation, it would take what it extracted from that page. It would use that to write like a blog post outline. Then the blog post outline would help guide the next step of the automation, which would actually write the blog post. So it was actually looking back at that previous step to know, this is the stuff it needs to cover. This is what this is about. It would have that information. And then I think the next step in that particular automation, it creates like a video script. So it actually looks at the previous steps to kind of see what's been covered, and it would create like a video script that would kind of be along the same lines, same kind of vein of everything. And then the next step is it creates like the social media posts. So you've got like Facebook posts and Instagram posts and different posts that you could use that you could copy and paste and send on your different platforms. And then finally, it creates like a 7-day email series. That's where it's looking at the previous outputs from the previous steps to go, okay, here's really what's been covered about this thing. Let's create a really engaging email sequence that gets people to know, like, and trust us and actually buy the recommendation.
I love this, and I want to dig in a little deeper. I've heard of MindPal with some of the previous guests that have been on the show, but I've heard even more about Make.com and Zapier.com. It sounds like MindPal is kind of like an easier to use version of these. Have you messed around with Make and Zapier, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've used all those tools. So I personally find Zapier easier than Make myself. I know it's like personal preference for different things, but I think just the way my mind works, I find Zapier a little easier than Make. And then of those, I think MindPal is the easiest of the bunch. And MindPal recently did a big overhaul on their software where they've added a lot of the features that things like Zapier and Make actually have in them, where you can create these different APIs that can go out to different resources and create different automations that way. You can connect stuff up and have it actually get sent into MindPal, so you can get stuff to go in and out of MindPal. And that's just a fascinating thing with stuff. They've even added a thing where, this is getting a little nerdy, but you can take like the API docs for like a particular tool. You can paste that into MindPal. It will actually read the API docs and create the automations necessary to connect that tool
cool.
up. So it's pretty cool with what they've been adding. They're very smart. It's a company based out of Vietnam, and very impressed with the people.
So let's talk about like how does it first of all, I love the fact that you can do internal or external automations. This is very akin to what you can do with custom GPTs and ChatGPT, right? You can have private ones, team ones, or public ones. And I love the idea that you could create a automation powered by AI that is a special benefit of like a membership, right? Which is kind of what it sounded like Perry did, right? Like what you developed, I would imagine, was locked behind Perry's membership. Is that correct?
I only shared it inside his Facebook group for his members that paid for that course. So, yeah.
Essentially the same thing, right? So, how does MindPal work as far as like the cost? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they've got different plans for it. I think the cheapest plan's like $40 a month, something like that. And I think that gives you like 6,000 AI credits, which I think would be plenty for most people's needs. And then you can go up from there. I don't know what the teams and business plan are for things. You can add your own like API keys for stuff. So that's one way to save a little bit of money on stuff, where like you can.
So if you have an API account, Yeah, I like that. So that could save you money. Interesting. Now, do you find that MindPal is essentially got all the things that Zapier and Make.com have? Or if they don't, can you also integrate Zapier and Make into MindPal?
You definitely can integrate both those into MindPal with stuff because they give you stuff to do like webhooks and API stuff in and out of MindPal. Now, like for instance, like Zapier and Make have been around for several years, so they've got integrations with thousands of different tools that they've built up over like Zapier's been around for a decade or so. They've integrated with 7,000 or 8,000 different tools now, so they have that edge where MindPal doesn't have that yet. But they're adding stuff and they're allowing you to add your own like tools in where basically copy and paste the API docs and it tries to create the automation for you without you having to be super technical. So I think that's fascinating with it. Obviously, that's pretty new with this tool, so it's only going to get better. And they're very responsive to any sort of feedback. So I think that's going to be interesting. I would imagine that they will probably figure out some of the stuff that people are commonly connecting up and probably start adding more and more of those as just kind of default integrations that you can quickly and easily do. Like for instance, you've probably used like HeyGen before, which can create videos that look like you, like an avatar kind of thing. They have an integration with HeyGen where you can connect up to the API and create like your script inside of MindPal and have it automatically create the video inside of HeyGen just by entering in your credentials for HeyGen. So that's a fascinating thing for being able to do stuff, and I think we're going to see more and more stuff like that.
I have two questions. One about the storage of the information, and the other one about the user interface from a consumer perspective. Let's start with the storage of information. Do you need some sort of a database to connect into MindPal, like an Airtable or something else, or does it have its own database? Because I'm curious about how the data moves through the automations.
Sure. So the different plan levels have different storage space, and I think you can buy additional storage if you need. And basically, you can upload different documents. Like, for instance, let's say you had a bunch of transcripts from, say, your YouTube channel. You could upload all those transcripts as like this knowledge source, for instance, inside of MindPal. Excuse me. And then MindPal would be able to read that information, know kind of like what kind of content you're creating, what they would have all the expertise from all the shows that you've done, and it would be able to create content in a very similar vein. Conversely, let's say that you took like all your blog posts that were like the summaries of all the episodes that you've done. It would have that whole like writing style of how you go about doing that, and it would know exactly how you're doing that for future blog post summaries of the articles that are of the podcasts that you're doing. So I think that's a fascinating aspect of it. And like for instance, if you're just uploading, say like text files, they don't take up a ton of space. It's when you start uploading things like videos and audio files and expecting it to transcribe that stuff, that's when it's going to take up a lot of space. If I were to like transcribe, for instance, like maybe I've got a video and audio that I want to transcribe, OpenAI has a free transcription tool called Whisper. And so you can, if you're on a Mac, there's a tool called Mac Whisper that it's really easy to use, and it's got a nice interface that you can transcribe your videos and audios that way. And then on PC, there's a nice interface, and this one's free too. It's called Subtitle Edit. And that you can basically just upload you drag and drop your video or audio file, and then you select OpenAI and the settings, and it will create your transcript for you. And that's totally free to use. You're not using any of these third-party tools to transcribe stuff anymore. And it does a really good job.
Let's say you have all these files living inside of a Google Drive, for example. Is there a way to connect that into MindPal so you can say, like, here's where the files are for this particular automation? So when I drop watch this folder, when I drop files in there, automatically trigger things. Is that kind of stuff possible? I know you can do that.
I know they've had some stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know they've had some stuff, like they recently just kind of redid the whole interface, so I haven't tried with the new update. but I know they've had stuff where like you've been able to connect like Notion before and like
Okay.
Google Drive and stuff up. They just changed it this week, so I haven't tested it to see
That's
if
cool.
those features are still in there. But basically you would just kind of connect it up to the particular Drive folders, and it could monitor that. At least that's how it seemed to work in the past. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
offhand
totally
if
cool.
It's working right now.
Now, through the, like, let's say there's multiple steps, like you talked about earlier, right? With these examples where there's multiple passes that AI is taking on something, I would imagine you can determine which AI model does which task, right? Because some like are much better at certain things than other things. Do you get a chance with each of these things to choose whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or HeyGen or whatever? I mean, you get all these options as you're going through the automation.
Yep. So for instance, in MindPal, there's basically a drop down in your settings for like what model you want to use, and you can select like different OpenAI models or different Google models or different, DeepSeek or whatever. You can select the different one depending on what's working best for you, and go from there. So, like for instance, in automation, you might find that, for instance, maybe Claude is really good at writing, but maybe it's not so good at doing math. For instance, you might switch it over to like ChatGPT to do the math. Just to give you a simple example. And so those could be different steps inside the one like workflow. And each one could be a different one. Like you could have ChatGPT for one, you could have Gemini for another, you could have Perplexity for another one, and kind of bounce back and forth. You could also have stuff where, let's say you wanted it to actually like review the content that you've generated. You could have like these different kind of sections of your workflow where you might have, OpenAI review it. You might have Gemini review it. You might have Claude review it. And that would give you some examples of ways to improve it. And that would be like a way that you could have all that information. Let's say it's a blog post, for instance. You could have all those different AIs kind of do a final check on it, and then have it kind of condense that down to here's the things that need to be improved. Then your final rewrite would go and it would actually implement all those suggestions.
What about the user interface? If we were to make something that was useful for our staff or for our customers, what does that experience look like? Is it a lot like ChatGPT, or what does that look like? Like you said, you had made one that you shared inside of a Facebook group. So just describe what that user experience is like for someone after they've created something like this.
Yeah, so you've got a couple different options. For instance, in MindPal, so you can do something that's more like a ChatGPT kind of interface where they're just having a conversation with it. And I think of that as more of kind of like a single agent workflow where it might be really good at doing X. So maybe it's really good at creating YouTube descriptions, for instance, and that's all it can do. Whereas you might have more of an interface where it's like you might input a couple things, like maybe this is the topic of what I want you to create. Here's a little bit of like the demographics of who you're creating this content for. And it's basically just some like input boxes, essentially, where the end user is just typing in some content, and then they click generate, and then each step of the workflow is actually creating the content further on down the page. And so you could like input, or you could embed that on your own website, or you could link to that directly. Like for instance, let's say you have a private members area for stuff. You could embed a particular tool inside your members area that you develop, and that way only people that are paying members of this membership site have access to using the tool, because they don't have the direct link to using it, and they would have to keep paying access for using that tool. And you don't have to be a programmer, you don't have to know how to do any of that kind of stuff. You just use their simple interface. Like they've made it really simple, where it's like they have AI that will like build your automations for you. So like you might say, I want something to create LinkedIn content, and it will create a whole like automation for you about like researching your market for creating the LinkedIn content, actually creating the LinkedIn content, refining the LinkedIn content, giving you maybe some images to go along with your LinkedIn content. Like it'll do all that for you. And then you might do some tweaks to, refine it and put it more in your voice and stuff like that. But you got the general kind of gist of your automation. and it took you 30 seconds to do. So it's pretty crazy.
That is nuts. So what I'm hearing you say is that if you don't know exactly all the steps, you could tell it, this is what I want, and it's going to go ahead and try to create the automation for you based on what it knows about all the automations it's probably previously created. And then you can go in and modify it so that you don't have to start from scratch. That's a huge advantage. Is there any downside, any negatives? I mean, I know you've used a lot of other tools. Is there anything that at this juncture you might not want to use MindPal for and you might want to go to some other tool for?
I mean, I think it's a good first tool to learn and master and use, because a lot of the AI and automation tools that I've used, they are pretty nerdy. They have a major learning curve. There's a lot of things that can go wrong trying to get those automations to work, where I feel like I create something in MindPal or it'll create it for me and it just works. So I think that's a good place, kind of a good first place to start. And then, kind of the next step up, let's say you want to create a totally unique, interface that's totally how you want it to look and stuff like that. You might look at something like Bolt.new, for instance, which can create different applications for you, different software, where basically you just type in what you want to build and it will actually create the whole framework of the software. You're going to be refining it and doing different prompts with it to get it exactly how you want it to be. But it's gotten a lot better. That came out, I think, October, and it was pretty clunky then, but it's gotten a lot better now.
Do you need to be a programmer to be able to use that?
I don't think you do. I think it would definitely help if you had some basic understanding of stuff, but it's pretty good at figuring out when there's an issue, and you could copy and paste the for instance, the bug issue and paste it back into the prompt, and it will usually fix it for you. Not every time. Sometimes I have to wrestle with it a few times, but I haven't had to really dive in and try to really code something in there. So I guess in general, I'd say no. You don't need to be a programmer to use something like Bolt.
What about Task Magic? This is something we brought up when we were prepping. Is there anything worth talking about there?
Yeah. I mean, what's nice about that is it's definitely a tool that's aimed at basically you record yourself doing something. So you could, upload an existing video, or you make a new video, almost like you're just hopping on Loom. You do something and it's going to create the basis of your automation for you. So it's really good at, automating different tasks on your computer and in your web browser. It may not necessarily be I want to create a lot of content with Task Magic. It may be more moving data back and forth between different things for you, or it may, accept a bunch of Facebook friend requests or something for you. It's going to automate kind of some of those kind of tedious tasks that you wouldn't otherwise want to do.
This is intriguing. So what I'm hearing you say is that Task Magic is quite literally taking over your browser, where MindPal, it's all happening up in the cloud. Is that kind of the distinction here between the two of them?
Yeah, in the current iteration, I don't know if MindPal's got any tricks up their sleeve where they want to switch in that direction. But right now, it's more kind of cloud-based, interacting with all these different AI models.
Are there any other tools that you're experimenting with that you're kind of excited about that we have not yet mentioned? If not, I definitely want to talk about scheduled tasks and ChatGPT, because I know you and I were talking about that briefly.
Yeah. There's a tool I downloaded the other day onto my phone called Hero, and I think it's created by some former Google engineers. And it's basically 10 apps in one. So you got your calendar and your reminders and your weather and all these different things all in one app that you can load, and reminds you of all these different things that you have to do, and it's really good at keeping me on track for different things. So I think that's a good free tool. At least it's free currently. I don't know what their plan is for monetizing it.
Android only?
Subscription.
Android?
I have it on my iPhone.
Okay.
I haven't put it on my Android one yet, but I have it on my iPhone and it works. So
interesting.
That's worth looking into.
Okay.
Hero.
Cool.
And then, there's different tools that I've been downloading onto my computer, and they're pretty nerdy. Browser use, I think, is one of them, and that's on GitHub. And so if you've ever used OpenAI's Operator, where it basically can go on your computer and do the task for you. this is essentially doing the same thing, but it's free. So it may be using like your API credits to go back and forth between like, say, Gemini or Claude or OpenAI for different stuff. But this is actually on your computer, and it's going out and doing the actual task for you. So it's interesting to see more and more like open source stuff coming up and out, where it's doing some of these things where like previously it was like, for instance, when OpenAI Operator came out, I wasn't super excited about it because I've been able to automate my desktop for a long time with tools like CheatLayer, and so I wasn't like super motivated to get it. But now that there's more and more tools, and I know these tools are going to get easier to use, like they're made for nerds right now, but eventually it's going to get switched where the everyday person is going to be able to just download like a really easy to use interface, click a button, and say what they want it to do, and it's just going to do it. And so I think that's pretty exciting with where we're at. Like, I think that's going to happen like this year or next year, where it's going to get so much easier for that kind of stuff.
Talk to me about scheduled tasks in ChatGPT. We're recording this in the middle of February. Obviously, it could change, but how are you using it? Because I've not yet messed with it.
Yeah, so that's a fairly new thing with OpenAI. It came out a couple weeks ago, and basically you can have it like do stuff for you or actually remind you things on like a recurring basis. So one of the things that I have it do is, every couple hours, it checks in with me to make sure that I'm working on whatever I told it I wanted to be working on. And it also gives me like a news story for like some new AI advancement. So I can still stay abreast of different things. I don't have to be searching for all this news all the time. I can see what's a new and exciting thing and click through and read it if I want. It gives me a little summary of it. So that might be enough to kind of whet my appetite. And if I want more, I can click it and go from there. But I mean, that's a useful tool all in its own, where it's basically checking in with me every like 3-4 hours, be like, hey, have you done this? Have you done that? Are you still working on this kind of thing? So it's almost like a person,
how is it doing it? How is it communicating though? That's what I'm curious about. Is it through email or what is?
So it will send out a message on email, but also like if you have ChatGPT installed, like say on your phone, for instance, you'll get like a push notification saying you've got this new ChatGPT message, and it'll give you like a little summary of it. And you click on that, and it'll give you the more detailed actual response from it. Then other things I've done is got another one where it's like every single day. Basically, my prompt was something to the essence of, based on what you know about me, why don't you pair stuff with what you know about me and come up with a creative angle where to go with the next step for it. And so it would every single day come up with different ideas that I might not be thinking about for different stuff that I'm into, whether it's AI and automation stuff or, things in my family life or, personal life things. And it's coming up with these different unique angles for stuff. And, some of them are pretty cool. Others I'm like, whatever, that doesn't excite me. But it's interesting that it can take all this knowledge base off of all the conversations I've ever had with ChatGPT and come up with all these unique angles for me that I wouldn't otherwise be thinking of.
Reed, this has been an absolutely fascinating discussion. I thank you so much for sharing all these different apps and tools that you're using. If people want to connect with you on the socials, where do you want to send them? And if they want to check out more about whatever you've got going on, is there a website you want to send them to?
Sure. Probably the social media thing that I'm on the most is Facebook. So you can just search for my name, Reed Florine, and find me there. And then, if you actually want to see some of this automation stuff in action and actually use it for yourself, go to automatedaimarketer.com. You can create an account, and that will actually give you a tool that'll do the like affiliate marketing promotion that we were talking about earlier, where you type in the URL and it'll create like the blog posts and the emails and video scripts and social media posts for you. So you can start promoting those different things that you want to promote. And so that's a great way to kind of get to know me and see this stuff in action.
Thank you so much, Reed, for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.